Introducing a lineup of international award-winning and talented indie authors, only on the Writer's Corner live show. Our guest today is redefining the publishing industry one chapter at a time. She's a 38-time #1 international best-selling author, speaker, and executive film producer with a mission to empower 5 million people to share their stories. To find out more about this amazing woman, don't go away. We'll be right back with the Writer's Corner live show.
Imagine a world where the lines of reality blur with the fantastical. Embark on journeys from humble beginnings to the pinnacles of literary greatness. On the Writer's Corner, we delve into the lives of unique wordsmiths, known for their compelling storytelling. They are artisans who craft fantastical realms, etched in our memory long after the final page is turned. Every tale begins with a single word, a single idea. Authors create sensations that keep you on the edge of your seat. Witness how they transform setbacks into stepping stones, use refusals to spark growth, and turn rejections into catalysts for new inspiration. Witness the diversity in writing as it gives birth to a vast array of genres, from drama to mystery to children's stories, fantasy, and reality. Join us as we uncover sources of inspiration and the magic that defines the author's craft. Find out how authors breathe life into their characters and meticulously craft narratives and plots that captivate readers. Get a sneak peek into upcoming works, and join us as we celebrate literary greatness, only on the Writer's Corner. We don't just celebrate best-selling Amazon and New York Times authors, but also indie authors. Join us on the journey from the birth of a tale to the creation of a masterpiece, only on the Writer's Corner live show. Stay tuned.
If you're just joining us, then welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. If you're not yet following us on social media, please do, so that we can get notified when we go live. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Bridgetti Lim Banda from Cape Town in South Africa. And in today's show, we're going to be introducing you to Lynda Sunshine West. Our live stream is made possible by Creative Edge, StreamYard, and BeLive Media, with immense gratitude also to BSN, your all-in-one entertainment revolution, for making it possible for us to go live on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google TV, and also Apple TV. So do join BSN for a world of boundless creativity. Now, before we introduce our amazing guest, Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishers, I want to first of all say hello to my friend and co-host, Mary Elizabeth Jackson. She's a passionate author, a certified special needs and disabilities advocate, and she's committed to amplifying underrepresented voices. She's also a speaker, educator, ghostwriter, and songwriter. Mary, how are you today?
I am fantastic and very excited to be here. We have one of our very dear friends on today, and we're going to get to talk about some different kinds of being in books, ways to be in books and how to get out there in the world. And I'm excited to be here and see you. Love your red hat. And because we're live, we may hear some rolls of thunder. So that's just going to be our ambience for this day over here where I am in the world.
Oh my goodness, it's always so fascinating to be on different ends of the globe and experience. It's usually when I'm all hot here, it's cold where you are. So I hope that you have great thunderstorms out there and it doesn't cause too much damage. Now, for our friends who haven't yet met Lynda Sunshine West, she is the unstoppable force behind Action Takers Publishing. As a 38-time #1 international best-selling stories, she guides authors through every step of the publishing journey, from concept to becoming a bestseller author. And her own journey from childhood adversity to becoming fearless fuels her mission to empower 5 million people to share their stories. So Lynda isn't really just simply in the book business. She's in a dream realization business. So if
Love
you're
it.
ready to turn your story into a bestseller, do stay with us to hear more from Lynda herself. And we're going to welcome her to join us on screen right now.
I love that welcome.
Oh, don't you feel so special? Woo-hoo-hoo. I know, Lynda, you deserve it, honey. You're so hardworking. And, for anybody out there who doesn't know mine and Bridgetti's story, we've been in several of your books. I think we're getting ready to be in another one together. And it's so exciting. I mean, when I talk about you to people, I'm like, if you don't want to go in all the way, just start out this way. This is the best way, isn't it? To be in a collaborative.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great way to get your feet wet because, I myself, like that was how I got started, was being in a collaboration book, and I didn't have to write very much. As a matter of fact, that book, we actually had a ghostwriter who wrote it for us. So I didn't have to write anything. And that was, well, I'm in, because I'm not a writer and I'm not a reader. I was never been interested in either of those. So this has been an interesting journey for me to now embrace, the fact that I do like to write now. And it's really about the stories that we tell and how those stories can transform other people's lives.
Absolutely. And Lynda, I must say, when I was working on the introduction to you, and I thought of, making dreams come true, I never imagined myself as being a writer, as you said. And so for me to have been in even more than one book is literally a dream come true, because you've opened up something in me that I didn't even know exists.
Amen.
So I'm going to dive right in. Your book, Do It Because You're Scared, is a deeply personal story, I believe, drawing on your own journey of confronting your fears. Could you share a moment during that year of facing a fear every day, which I know was a different book, that profoundly challenged your understanding of courage and its role in personal growth?
Yeah, to pick one is challenging. However, I would say that the number one thing that I discovered is that the vast majority of my fears, and I found out later that most people have this fear, is the fear of judgment. There's a saying that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. And the reality is that more people are scared of the judgment that they might receive on stage than they are of dying. It's that ridicule that, like, people are going to judge me. They're going to think bad things about me. And so one of the things I learned to do for myself is to switch my thinking from like the bad possibilities to the good possibilities. What if they like me? What if they think I'm great? What if they think I'm smart? What if they think I'm, confident? What if they think all these good things about me? And that was one of the things that helped me to start to like really step up and, speak out and share my voice without that fear of ridicule or judgment.
Yeah, well, it's a fear that everybody has. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, you are on a mission to empower 5 million people to write their stories.
Mhm.
And it's ambitious, but it's also very, very inspiring. Could you talk about a specific instance where you saw a profound transformation in someone's life through the act of storytelling, and how that experience informs your approach to achieving your mission of inspiring 5 million people?
Yeah, it's interesting how this question is bringing emotion to me an emotion that because of the experiences that I've seen from other people. I'll pick one in particular. I won't give the name, but one of our authors, she was writing her chapter, and she was having a cathartic experience that, wow, I wasn't remembering these things until I started writing about them. And there was a healing that was happening while she was writing. Well, she was at a local park, and she thought, I'm just going to go to the park and I'm going to write my story so I could finish it up. And there are these two little girls there at the park that saw her sitting down and she was writing. And they came over and said, "Are you a writer?" And she said, "Well, I guess I am," like this. And what was poignant about this moment was that she was writing about when she was 4 years old, and an incident happened in her life that changed the trajectory of her life at 4 years old. And these two little girls were 4 years old. So it was almost like this experience that she, experienced in that moment was something that really brought her back to, like, this is who I was, these little girls. And it brought her back to that. And there was a huge amount of healing that happened through that writing process for her.
Wow, that is amazing, and speaks to definitely speaks to the power of storytelling.
Mhm.
Now, as a seasoned author and speaker, you've undoubtedly at some point encountered resistance and setbacks along your journey.
No,
Um,
not at all.
ah,
Go ahead.
you
Go
mean you haven't had any obstacles?
I've had tons of them, mostly my own, like my own little obstacles that I created in my own brain. It's like other obstacles outward are ones that normally we can make it through those, but it's ourselves that's stopping us from jumping over those obstacles, blasting through them, making our way through them. And so really fear was my greatest obstacle for decades.
So I know that at some point, um, you've had self-doubt, because we all have that. How has that reshaped your understanding of resilience and determination?
Well, I had self-doubt last week, Bridgetti. I have it. Unfortunately, I have it more regularly than I care to admit to myself. I'll admit out loud, but admitting to myself is a totally different story. That self-doubt, I truly believe that creeps up to remind us of who we are, and to give us that opportunity to really step up and say, okay, I have this doubt about whatever it is that I'm doing or who I'm being. And I get this opportunity to then say, no more. Like, this is who I am. And it gives us, again, that opportunity to step up and say, this is me. This is what I'm all about. I'm confident in who I am, and I'm going to keep moving forward. And I get challenged with that on a very regular basis.
Wow. So, in your role as the CEO of Action Takers Publishing, I believe you've got a unique vantage point on the transformation power of storytelling. Do you think you could share or describe a narrative from one of the authors that resonated with you, and how it exemplifies the potential for storytelling to create meaningful change in the world?
Yeah, oh, definitely. Again, there are a lot of stories that can relate to this because every single author that comes through our door, they're experiencing something in their lives that there is making them want to, share that part of their story. We all have, hundreds and hundreds of stories, maybe even thousands of stories to tell. But how do we choose which story we're going to tell? How do we choose the impact that we're going to make through our story? Storytelling has been around since the very beginning of time. And this is how we make our greatest connections with people. So to say one story would be hard, but there was one of our authors, Cynthia. Cynthia came to us, and she was in one of our collaboration books, was going to write one chapter. And I remember her saying, I'm just a housewife. Who wants to hear my story? But then as she started to tell her story, it came out like what her true story is. She's not just a housewife. So Cynthia went ahead and wrote her story, submitted it, and then we give opportunities to our authors to, be interviewed on different platforms like your platform. So we want to thank you so much for, showcasing our authors. We give them these opportunities to step up to share their story, not just in the book, but also, on interviews. And so Cynthia was like, I'm just going to do everything. I'm going to jump into every interview. Now remember, I'm just a housewife. This is her words. And so she decided to jump into all the interview opportunities. I think for that particular book, there were 3 interview opportunities. And then one day she reached out and she said, oh my God, somebody saw my interview on so-and-so's platform, and they asked me if I would be interviewed on their platform. So what transformed from I'm just a housewife was this woman who's now sharing her story, and other people are inviting her. And then a week or 2 later, she says, I'm going to do a book signing at my local bookstore. So now she's doing book signings. The point here is that your story, no matter how insignificant you may think it is, it has significance and it will impact other people's lives, but you have to share it.
Absolutely, Lynda. And I know I felt that way too. I waited forever to publish my first children's book because I was like, I'm just a mom, living in the middle of America, and who wants to hear what I have to say? But you're so right. Our stories really impact others, and we're not supposed to keep them to ourselves. We're supposed to share them so we can inspire others. Okay, your book emphasizes the importance of embracing the unknown and stepping outside of one's comfort zone. So, like, you're one of my heroes, right? Because I just think it's amazing. 1, that you've done this, and 2, that you have just been so bold to go out in the world and show and share this with everyone. Can you reflect on a moment in your own life, where embracing uncertainty, and I know you can, led to unexpected growth or opportunity, and how you integrated that lesson into the approach to leadership and personal development?
Huge. Oh my gosh. Yeah. In 2015, it was January 1st. I woke up that morning and I had been accustomed to doing New Year's resolutions and breaking them, every single one of them. And that year, something was different. I woke up that morning and I said, I have so many fears that are stopping me from living my life. I'm going to break through one fear every day this year. It wasn't a New Year's resolution, though. This was different. This was a New Year's commitment. I wanted to commit to myself to totally transform my life. And so I started, breaking through those fears every single day. And this is what it looked like. I want to share with the listeners what it looked like, because this is something you can do too. You don't have to do it every day. Do it once a month, but wake up in the morning. And the first thing I would do before I got out of bed, it was I would ask myself one simple question. What scares me? 3 words that changed my life. And then I would lay in bed and I would wait until the first fear popped into my head. Now, when we ask ourselves a question, our brain searches for the answer. So my brain was searching for an answer, and sometimes it was instantaneous, as if I had been dreaming about that fear all night long and waiting for myself to ask myself that question. And then other times it took, 5 or 10 minutes for a fear to pop into my head. Then my commitment to myself was to break through that fear that day, no matter what it was, no matter how much money it cost. I didn't have a lot of money, but I knew I needed to change my life. I had lived in fear for 51 years, 51 years of allowing my fear to control me in a bad way. I decided instead, I'm going to allow my fear to fuel me, is going to fuel me forward. My entire life, with the exception of my husband and my family, has changed. My entire life has changed, and it's been a glorious, amazing change. And I now step up as this confident person who was not confident before, this person who used to sit in the back of the room. I would go to networking events. I would drive there. I would sit in my car, never go inside, and drive home because I was too scared to talk to people. So it's been a huge shift in just making that year totally transformed my entire life.
And it's funny because Bridgetti and I don't know you like that.
I know.
We know you with this bold, abrasive, that's not the right word, bold and embracing. Okay. So you're so
embracing. Yes, definitely embracing.
Yes, embracing is so much more better here. But with your diverse array of responsibilities and roles, because you do have quite a few, maintaining authenticity and integrity can be challenging, but you do it over and over again. I know we see this. How do you ensure that your actions and messages align with your core values, especially in moments of pressure and scrutiny? Because we all have those. And when you're stepping out, you are under fire sometimes, right?
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And I love this question because I'm frequently tapped on the shoulder of integrity, and there, especially one thing I've discovered is while we're in the down times, the desperation times, this is when we allow our integrity to wane. Not all the time, but this is when it usually happens, is when things aren't going well. And then we might do things that we wouldn't otherwise do if things were, up, in the great areas, the great times of life. And so I found myself at times where I have had to really check myself and say, is this, I'm in a desperation mode right now. I'm not that I am right now, but it was like in the moment, right? I'm in desperation mode right now. And this is what's controlling my decision. This is what's controlling what I'm going to say or what action I'm going to take. And then I ask myself, if I weren't in desperation, what would I do? How would I act? How would I react? What action would I take? And then I remind myself of that. And I want to remain in high integrity at all times. And because of that, it's a conscious decision of being aware of how I'm feeling at the moment so that I can make a decision that's a conscious decision and then to live with that high integrity. It's so important for me. Mary, you mentioned like the vulnerability or the authenticity. As a recovered people pleaser, okay, maybe I'm still recovering, but okay, I'll just call myself a recovered people pleaser. As a people pleaser, we don't know who we are. We can't live an authentic life if we don't know who we are. As a people pleaser, I spent my whole life saying, what do I need to do for them? What do I need to do for them so that they will like me? I just want people to like me. And I spent the first 51 years like that. So once I started to, I did hire a life coach, and I was working with a life coach, and she's the one that helped me to see who I really am deep down inside. It took a while. It took months and months for me to really go deep within to see who am I. And then I had other people on the outside who would tell me who I am from the good perspective, not all the negative people in my past life. And so these positive people would say things about me that were good, that were positive, uplifting. And I said, you know what? If they see that in me, that must be who I am. I must accept that. That was hard. And that was what really got me on that trajectory of discovering who I am and who I want to be. And then to step into that and step in authentically as the person that I truly, truly am and show up as that person all the time. Last thing I want to say on that is one thing I started noticing is people would say, you know what I really love about you? And I'd go, what? And they'd say, your authenticity. And that was when I knew that I was really stepping into it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wow, what a moment. It's funny that we're talking about this.
I have chills.
I read something just earlier in the week. It was talking about how, when we have fractured relationships with our parents, we become people pleasers because, we're always looking for acceptance because we didn't get that approval when we were children. We crave that. I look at my grandson, I looked at my children and how different things were. But, if you didn't get that as a child, you turned into people pleaser as an adult. And it's hard work moving away from that and learning to be okay with a normal life.
Well, and we teach our children. Then we teach our children to be that way. Like I have daughters, right? And so we're going through all that because it's like we teach we teach our kids, be nice, say nice things, don't be critical, this and that. And then, hey, Dorothy, thanks for joining us today. Dorothy's an amazing person. And then I don't know if you realize this, but I know looking at my kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at what they're doing. No. You do not need to be that kind of, you do not need to make nice with that person. Okay. They're not good for you. And now you've got to see those warning signs. You've got to see that you got to turn in and use your intuition to guide you in situations so that you don't be a chronic people pleaser.
Yeah. I love how, Bridgetti, you said fractured, families is, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. My mom was an enabler of my dad, and I ran away at 5 years old and I was gone for a week. And something happened in that week that would really, and I didn't know it at the time. It wasn't until I was able, older and able to look back on it. But what happened in that week, that fracture that you're talking about, is that nobody came to get me. So as a 5-year-old, my thought was they didn't come to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around. That was my belief. And that belief was instilled in me from that age of 5 until 51 when I started working with my life coach. The reality is that my mom knew where I was, but I didn't know she knew where I was. My mom knew I was safe because I was just at the neighbor's house. But so when I came home riddled with fear because of my dad, and I became a people pleaser, just like you said. And a lot of that stems from the fact that they didn't come to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around. I just want them to want me around. I just want to feel like I belong. That's all I wanted.
And it's a perspective, it's your perspective
Yeah.
as a child, which is important because it models who you become when you are an adult, and it affects your life moving forward, So we really need to be careful with our words, with our children, because it's something they're going to carry. Somebody tells you you've got a crooked nose or an ugly nose or something when you're at school. It's amazing how that stays with you for the rest of your life. You never forget it, and I remember this stupid song that we grew up with, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. It couldn't be further from the truth. Words matter, words have an impact on us for the rest of our life. We are out of time. Lynda, if you have one pearl of wisdom that you would like to share with somebody that has not yet written a book and that is struggling to get there, what would you tell them?
Do it because you're scared. That's I know it's backwards, but fear can either stop you or it can fuel you forward. You get to decide. And that's the thing. You're at a crossroad when you're experiencing fear, and you get to decide what you're going to do about it. One thing I discovered by breaking through those fears every single day for a year is that 99% of the fears that I broke through, the result that I got was something that was amazing. I met somebody that I wouldn't have met. A door was open that I didn't even know was closed. And once I stepped through that fear, it really transformed my life. So do it because you're scared. No more excuses. I'm too old. No, you're not. I'm too young. No, you're not. I'm too scared. No, you're not. Go out there and do it because you're scared. And your new mantra is, oh my gosh, I'm scared to do this. I have to do it because I'm scared.
But wait, hold on. We have to have a disclaimer here, though. As long as it's legal. That's my disclaimer for my kids.
Disclaimer. As long as it's legal.
And you're not jumping off roofs and trying to be Spider-Man, then we're
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Lynda, thank you so much. Can I ask you just one last time to hold up that beautiful book? So people, please go and grab it. Do it because you are scared. Beautiful cover. Love the color. It stands out. So thank you very much, Lynda. We could talk for hours, but it was amazing having you on the show today. So a huge big shout out to Action Takers Publishing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everybody who joined and all the comments. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for joining us on the Writers Corner live show, brought to you by BSN, your all-in-one entertainment revolution, as seen on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google TV, and Apple TV. Until next week, we'll see you again on another episode of the Writers Corner live show. Join us then. Thank you for joining us on the Writers Corner live show. 30 minutes of insightful author conversations with some of the biggest names in the industry, including award-winning authors and international indie sensations. Join us on the next episode of the Writers Corner live show.